Hey, I'm Grace. It's Marriage Monday. In our last video, we talked about being flawed people. Now, what that means is that as a husband, I am not flawless. Alyssa, as my wife, is not flawless. We are both flawed people. And as a result of being flawed people, that means we have flawed expectations of one another. And so my expectations of Alyssa being flawed, they may be too high or they may be too low. They may be too unrealistic or they may be too superficial. And so as a result of having flawed expectations, or as a result of the basis of those expectations, if we live according to those flawed expectations, hold each other accountable to those flawed expectations, then there's going to be problems throughout our marriage and our relationship. So we have to deal with those flawed expectations. We have to recognize that we're flawed in our expectations. Now, Stanley Hauerwas, if I got that name correct, says, "We never know whom we marry. We just think we do." Or even if we first marry the right person, just give it a while and he or she will change. For marriage, being the enormous thing it is, means we are not the same person after we have entered it. The primary problem is learning how to love and care for the stranger to whom you find yourself married. So as we enter into our marriage, into that relationship that is marriage, we discover that we are flawed. We discover our flawed expectations. And it's so important that we recognize and that we see those flaws and those flawed expectations. Because the worst thing that could happen would be that we would be blind to them or refuse to see them. And as a result, therefore, we are robbed or we are crushed in our marriage. And so we have to be willing to be seen for who we are. We have to be willing to see the other person for who she is or who he is. We have to be willing to deal with our flawed expectations, to realize it, and then and only then can we begin to deal with those things and move into a healthy position, which we'll begin to look at in our next video.